Support for SportsPage is provided by the University Store at the Crossing. The University Store at the Crossing is the official headquarters for Mules and Jennies emblem clothing, gifts, and UCM memorabilia. Books, office supplies, art supplies, and more are available at the University Store located on the lower level of the Elliott Union on the UCM campus in Warrensburg. And promotional support for SportsPage is provided by 1450 KOKO and 98.5 The Bar. 1450 KOKO and 98.5 The Bar, the radio home of the University of Central Missouri Athletics. Tonight on SportsPage, we'll take a look at Jennies soccer as they took home another championship.
Mules and Jennies basketball is underway. We'll highlight their early games. And
last but certainly not least, we will introduce you to our UCM Literacy Team. We will have all of that and more on this week's edition of the UCM SportsPage.
Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of the University of Central Missouri SportsPage. I'm Kira Mackey.
And I'm Jason Katz. Kira, the Jennies soccer team took home another prize this weekend.
Yes, they did. Jennies soccer is moving on in the big dance. The Jennies defeated Minot State on Sunday afternoon to advance to the regional championships. The Jennies were the 1 seed in the region and got a bye through the first round. In the first half, it was all Jennies. The Jennies took 15 shots and carried the momentum heading into the second half. Speaking of the second half, the Jennies had a great scoring opportunity in the 70th minute. Abby Rhodes takes the ball across the area and fires a shot that barely hits the post and keeps the Jennies off the board. This game was very physical, and it was Minot State who finally made a mistake. Jada Scott goes down in the box, and that would set up the Jennies with an opportunity to finally break through. Taylor Thompson goes right, the keeper goes left, and the Jennies are back on the board. The penalty kick gives the Jennies a 1-0 lead. The goal was Thompson's third of the season. Jada Scott has been electric for the Jennies all year, and here she does it again. Scott fights through the defense and goes the distance. She crushes a shot into the top of the net. The insurance goal puts the Jennies up 2-0, and that is all they would need. Anna Dilks recorded 5 saves in the match as the Jennies shut out Minot State 2-0. The victory improves the Jennies' record to 20-2. Jada Scott talked after the game about the team's mentality heading forward.
It just shows us that we're capable of beating teams, and that we definitely have it in us. And I think we played a lot better against them this round than we did the first time. And so that's a big confidence booster. And knowing that one of the teams that we're going to be playing in the next round, we played both of those teams. And so it's nice to know kind of what we're up against.
The Jennies host Minnesota State Mankato Friday at 2:30 in the Central Region Championship. If they win, they advance to take on the winner of Bellarmine at Grand Valley State game in the quarterfinals Sunday at noon. Saturday night, Jennies volleyball took on Northwest Missouri State for senior night. Seniors Jessica McDougald, Carly Soika, Annie Riley, Shelby Winkleman, and Lauren Dudgeon all were suiting up for their final regular season match. The Jennies came back from a 2-set deficit to win the match in 5. Senior Carly Soika had 8 of her 21 kills the 4th set to help force the deciding 5th set. In that one, UCM rallied with 4 straight points. From there, the Jennies never looked back as they completed the comeback with a 15-10 win. With the win, the Jennies claimed the number 2 seed in the MIAA tournament and the right to host on Tuesday night. And guess who their opponent was? That's right, Northwest Missouri State this time. The Bearcats were no match for the Jennies, as UCM swept the match in 3 sets. The Jennies never trailed in the match. UCM went up 8-1, 9-1 in the second set, and 8-2 in the final set to take the win. Carly Soika finished with 14 kills and has gone over 1,600 for her career. Casey Holand finished with 12 kills and 4 blocks. Courtney Thompson picked up her second straight double-double, and Annie Riley just missed her first career double-double. Central Missouri will be in Edmond, Oklahoma this weekend for the remainder of the MIAA tournament. They face 10th-ranked Nebraska Kearney in the semifinals. If the Jennies win, they'll take on the winner of Central Oklahoma, Washburn, match Saturday afternoon at 3.
8th-ranked Jennies bowling team was back out on the lanes again this past weekend at the Nebraska Big Red Classic. The 3-day tournament is divided up into 3 separate tournaments for each day of competition. Day 1 saw the Jennies finish with a record of 3-1 and runner-up just behind Arkansas State by a total of 73 pins. Day 2 was more of the same as Central Missouri finished in 3rd place with a record of 5-1 and a total of 5,081 pins. And in the tournament finale, the Jennies finished 4th on the day with a record of 2-2 with 3,981 pins. The Jennies finished in 3rd overall in the tournament after a 3-day total of 13,932 pins. Justine Falbo was named to the all-tournament team, placing 7th individually.
When we come back, we'll recap the weekend for Mules football, and we'll take a look at how Mules and Jennies basketball got their season started.
Plus, the Mules wrestling squad opened its dual meet season at home. So don't go away. We've got much more to talk about. You're watching the UCM Sports Page on KMOS-TV, Missouri PBS, and the UCM Media Network.
I choose to be a champion.
I choose to be inspired.
I choose the perfect fit.
I choose red to experience learning to a greater degree.
Choose red. Choose the University of Central Missouri.
Welcome back to Sports Page. Mules football was on the road this past weekend for their last regular season game.
I wish I could have went on the road with them. They've had a great season. Why don't you tell us about their game?
The 13th ranked Mules football team traveled to Hays, Kansas for the final regular season game of the year. With the win, the Mules could get back to the playoffs for the first time since 2010. Mules are in a whole 7-0 when Garrett Fugate is picked off on the far sideline by Doyen Jabowu. That sets up this big play for the Tigers. Quarterback Trevion Albert rolls to his right and finds Garrett Hull wide open in the middle of the field. He makes a few guys miss for the 44-yard touchdown strike. Tigers up 14-0. The Mules would respond just before halftime as Garrett Fugate connects with number 1 Jalen Zachary for the 34-yard touchdown pass. Mules go to the break trailing by 7. The Tigers start the scoring in the second half as Albert finds a hole and the Tigers are back up by 14. Still third quarter. If I haven't mentioned his name enough, Albert goes 17 yards untouched into the end zone. It's now 28-7 Fort Hays. The Mules would not go down without a fight. Early fourth quarter, how about Fugate to Kyle Eccles? That equals 6. Mules cut the lead back to 14. But the Mules' comeback hopes were short-lived as the late interceptions from Fugate and backup quarterback Eric Sievenshoe proved to be the difference as the Mules dropped their final game of the regular season to Fort Hays 28-14. Mules quarterback Garrett Fugate would throw 3 interceptions on the day to go along with 5 sacks, while the Mules defense gave up over 300 yards rushing for the first time all season. The Mules finished the season with a record of 8-3 overall, which is the 4th time under Jim Sabota the Mules have reached that mark. Coming off of the UCM Open, the Mules wrestling team opened the 2015-2016 dual season this past Thursday night against Wentworth Military Academy. The duel saw the Mules receive falls in 7 of the 9 matches. The duel started at 133 pounds as Dade Agnew needed just 2 minutes and 8 seconds to pin his opponent, and the Mules kept rolling from there. The next 2 weight classes would go to the Mules as well, with Stefan Fawcett getting the fall at 141 pounds, followed by Caleb Crabtree at 149 to put the Mules up 18-0. Wentworth's only win of the night came at 157 pounds, then it was all UCM from there. Tyler Horton picked up the fall at 165, and so did Archie Williams at 174 pounds. Mules up 30-6. And then how about Michael Boyd, who needed just 23 seconds to get the pin at 184? Derek Morgan gets the technical fall at 197, and Nicholas Lovejoy finished off the night with a pin at heavyweight as the Mules defeated Wentworth Military Academy 46-6. The Mules won't return home to the multi until January 3rd for the UCM duels.
Jennies basketball traveled to Las Vegas to play their season opener. UCM fell short to Northwest Nazarene 88-63. The Jennies had a 1-point halftime lead, 37-36, but couldn't hang on as the Crusaders outscored UCM 34-13 in the fourth quarter. Freshman Freshman Sydney Crockett led the Jennies, scored 14 points, going 5 for 11 from the field. The Jennies finished in their Sin City adventure with a game against Minnesota State Moorhead. This one didn't go as UCM planned, as the Jennies fell 63-58. The Jennies outshot Minnesota State from the floor, but only made 4 of 8 from the free throw line. The Dragons, meanwhile, hit 21 of 27 from the stripe. The Jennies proved there is no place like home, though, as they got their first win of the season in their home opener against William Jewell Wednesday night. UCM used a strong first half to jump to a 13-point lead and downed William Jewell 80-70 for its first win of the season. The Cardinals struck first on the three-pointer on the first shot of the game, but Taylor Wicks answered with a 3 of her own. The Jennies did not trail from that remainder of the game. With 3 minutes to play, the game was tied at 12. That's when UCM turned on the gas. The Jennies went on an 11-3 run to end the first period. That run was sparked by 7 points from Shelby Winkleman, who was playing her first game of the season. The lead ballooned to a 17 before the Jennies went to halftime with a 45-32 lead. William Jewell never got closer, 7 in the second half. Newcomer Ashley Jones scored 7 of her 17 points and grabbed 6 of her 16 rebounds in the final frame. Shelby Winkleman led the Jennies with 24 points on 7 of 14 shooting and was a perfect 9 for 9 from the charity stripe. Jones got her second straight double-double, and Wicks knocked down 3 three-pointers and finished with 11 points.
Mules basketball opened their season at home last Friday with a win over Minnesota Duluth. UCM came out firing in the first half, jumping to a 12-6 early lead. The Bulldogs closed that gap just as fast with a 6-2 run, putting them within 2. Still with 10 minutes to go in the first half, here's freshman guard Isaiah Sykes, who dishes the easy assist to the sniper Spencer Reeves. Thanks to their second half rally, the Mules would get the 78-60 win. The following night, the Mules would host Concordia St. Paul. This was a game that went back and forth with lead changes all over the place. The Mules would go on a 13-0 run in the first half that would break a tie, ultimately leading in the Mules' victory 77-52. The opening minutes of the second half were back and forth, but this long-distance 3 from Spencer Reeves put the Mules back in business, and they would roll from there. Roosevelt Scott led the Mules with 19 points and only 27 minutes on the floor. DeMarnier Cunningham played clutch with 12 points as well. The 2-0 Mules were back out on the multi-court last night against undefeated Rockhurst University out of KCMO. The Hawks got on the board first with impressive shooting from their big man Dominique Washington, but it was short-lived as the Mules would go on a 11-2 run. The Hawks would climb back to tie it up, but back-to-back shots behind the arc from Kyle Wolf and Brad Woodson would give the Mules the lead yet again. Sophomore Spencer Reeves would hit 4 straight free throws in the final minute of the first half to give the Mules a 9-point lead at halftime. The Mules opened the second half with a 9-2 run before Tariq Eckwood made a couple charity stripe shots, and the great Scott, Roosevelt Scott, would drain a 3-ball. The Mules then went on a 10-0 run to extend the lead to 15. The Hawks weren't quite done, though, making a comeback as Rockhurst would cut the lead to just 2 with under 3 minutes to play. But the Mules' Brad Woodson said, "Not in my house," as he would score the next 5 points for the Mules to extend the lead back out to 7. UCM would hold on for the 77-71 victory. Brad Woodson would lead the Mules with 14 points, while Marquise Lawrence was a point shy of a double-double on the night. That's all for the Mules and Jennies basketball this week. When we return, Asia Garrison will give us our news and notes.
So don't go away. You're watching the UCM Sports Page on KMOS-TV, Missouri PBS, and the UCM Media Network.
PBS has always played a big part in my being a good citizen. When the Watergate hearings began, PBS was thoughtful enough to rear them at night. So it was a great service to all of us who were busy with children during the day. Frontline, the News Hour. I really love Washington Week. I trust the news programs on PBS. I decided to do a planned gift because I want to ensure that PBS will be around for my grandchildren and hopefully great-grandchildren. I would hope that others, when doing their estate planning, would include their PBS station.
Your donation of support makes programming on KMOS possible. For more information, call 1-800-753-3436.
My PBS station is part of my community. That's something I really value.
It's that time of the year again. Fall sports are getting into the postseason and the winter sports are amping up. Even more action than usual going on around UCM athletics. And we'll have lots of news to report on as well. Let's check it out. Mules Golf ended their fall season and were ranked number 10 in the final Golf Coaches Association. The Mules won 3 tournaments this fall and also placed top 5 in all of their fall events. Great job to the Mules golf team. The Cosita Academic All Districts teams have been released and there are 3 UCM athletes who qualify. Linebacker Austin Miller carries a perfect 4.0 grade average while majoring in finance. Miller leads the Mules with 59 total tackles and has 4 fumble recovers, which is tied for the first in the nation. Volleyball Annie Riley also qualified. Riley, a biochemistry major, has a 3.83 grade point average. She is 23rd in the nation in digs per set and 27th in total digs. Riley is also the leader among active players with 2,397 digs. And last but not least, Megan Woolley was named from the Jennies soccer team. Woolley boasts a 3.88 cumulative GPA while majoring in chemistry. The sophomore middle fielder leads the Jennies with 13 goals and 27 total points. She was a first-team All-MIAA selection this season. In order to be eligible, student athletes must be a sophomore or higher and in their second year at their current institution and must possess a cumulative 3.30 GPA. Those selected to the academic all-district teams are now eligible for the Cosita Academic All-American teams, which will be released in December. You hear her name every week. Carly Soika was named MIAA Player of the Year. Soika is the first Jenny since Julia Bates in 2013 to be named the MIAA Player of the Year. And the 16th in Jenny school history, Soika had an outstanding 455 total kills, an average of just over kills per set, which is her career high. Soika was not the only one doing great things. Junior Maddie Jones and senior Annie Riley were also all MIAA a first team. Congratulations to Jennies volleyball on an outstanding season. Last but definitely not least, we have our Mules football team earning 18 All-MIAA honors. The Mules had 17 players earn 18 All-MIAA awards. Senior offensive lineman Brian Berzanski, senior defensive lineman Jason Vinkus, and sophomore wide receiver Jalen Zachary were named the league's first team. So we talked about how the Mules and Jennies have performed on the field and court and in the classroom, but the Division II philosophy is to include student athletes in the community. UCM takes the mission to heart as several of our student athletes regularly participate in the literacy team program. John Gehards recently traveled with the team to Maple Grove Elementary to learn more about the program.
Hello everybody, I'm John Gearhardt for SPORTSPAGE and we're here at Maple Grove Elementary where the UCM Literacy Team is here to read books to the kids at school.
The day started off with an assembly where Mo the Mule, the UCM athletes, and head UCM faculty were introduced before the event began.
I actually was around when we first started doing the having the literacy team come over. I taught my first year here in Warrensburg with Carol Hughes. And when she passed away, that was the one thing that they decided to do in her memory, in her honor. So since she loved the books, they decided to have student athletes come over and read. And I don't think what the student athletes realize is what rock stars they are to these kids.
It's my 3rd time going to literacy team. And the one thing I like about reading to children is, I'm 22 now, and I read about a book a week. And I've realized from starting at a young age, reading, putting words in my mouth, it actually created more meaning to my life. So for these kids going out there and showing them, the influence and the knowledge in books, it absolutely makes my day. But I think, moving forward, this is something that every student athlete, as well as regular student that goes here to UCM, should be doing on a day-to-day basis.
Well, everything for a child is amplified, so any visitor is special. But when you add to that those individuals that they have looked up to, that they've admired, that they've cheered for, that they're revered as they walk in, and it's an immediate connection between child and student athlete at the university, and it's a strong connection. It's strong enough that we've even seen situations where we're out in the community at other places, and they run into their student athlete, and it's a mutual excitement between the college student athlete and our youngsters here.
I'm John Gerhards for Sports Page, signing off.
That's all I have for you today with news and notes. You can get more information on these stories, rankings, and awards and more at UCMathletics.com.
We're going to take one more quick time out, but when we return, Daniel Barnett sits down with this week's Coach's Corner.
Stay tuned. You're watching the UCM Sports Page on KMOS-TV, Missouri PBS, and the UCM Media Network.
What if news wasn't just a commodity,
but a commitment?
The fiscal cliff is a fiscal suicide.
Why shouldn't we explore every side of the story?
The Syrian army had pulled back.
Where can you turn for news you can trust?
How do we make sense of something like this?
On PBS, we believe journalism should never stop asking questions.
Give to your PBS station and support independent journalism.
We answer to no one but you.
Each week, we like to introduce to you one of the Mules and Jennies coaches. This week, it is the man calling the shots for Jennies basketball.
Daniel Barnett sat down with Jennies head basketball coach Dave Slifer.
This week on Coach's Corner, I am joined by Jennies head basketball coach Dave Slifer. Coach, thanks for taking the time to sit down with us.
Absolutely.
All right, so jumping right into things. Coach, I want to start off talking about this year's team. You went down to Las Vegas, and the season hasn't exactly started how you'd want it to. A couple of tough losses on the road to good non-conference teams. What's the mentality of the team like right now?
Well, we're a little frustrated because when we set the schedule up, we knew that Minnesota Moorhead would be a pretty good team. Northwest Nazarene, to be quite honest, was 7-20 last year, but they had their top 7 scorers back. They play a tough schedule up there in the Great Northwest. We knew that they'd be a decent team. We knew that we would be going up there with 0 starters back, but we thought we'd be strong enough to go ahead and kind of win both those games. Instead, we came back 0-2. We learned a lot of lessons and have got a few things figured out, we hope. So we knew that there's a possibility that some bad things could happen. And unfortunately, in Division II, these games in November count the same as a game in late February. So that's just the way those things work.
And so looking for the team to transition, looking to get more wins, obviously. And speaking of wins, Coach, you've had an incredible career, 600 career wins, 400 plus of those coming in 20 years in the MIAA with both Missouri Western and then here at Central Missouri. In your eyes, in the last 20 years, how have you seen the MIAA evolve to what it is now?
Well, we've kind of grown up in the MIAA, and it's been a great experience. Love the MIAA. It's kind of growing into a larger conference right now, which I think all of us coaches are trying to figure out whether it's really a great thing or not. I don't think many of us are convinced that it is, but we still love the concept of the MIAA. We love the MIAA Conference Basketball Tournament. Think it's the greatest tournament in the country, and feel like that the last couple of years, the MIAA women and men have led the country in attendance in Division II. And we know that, basketball is important in the Midwest. Division II has got a great niche here, and we've got a lot of teams that are nationally ranked. We've had some national champions, and it's good basketball.
And speaking of the MIAA in this area, with the Jennies, you've taken a team that was already good and really made them one of the elite Division II basketball programs. In your mind, what's happened here in the last 11 years that makes this program so successful?
Well, we've had great assistants. We've gotten great players. We feel like that we've got kids that really bought into what we're trying to do, and we've tried to create kind of a family atmosphere. And so we've gotten some kids back that you create lifelong friendships with, and it's been a lot of fun, and that's what it's all about.
And speaking of some of the relationships that you've built, you've had some real close ones in your career here, because it's not just you that's been involved. Your wife, she's helped you out with coaching. You've had some kids attend here. So can you go into what it's like to be able to look down the bench and to see family, both as a coach and as a player?
Well, about 20 years ago, whenever we took the job, I was at Mount Mercy College in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, an NAIA school. Yeah. My wife was a head coach at Linn-Mar, and I had the opportunity to go to Missouri Western. At that time, we had 3 young kids, and she said, I don't think I can do the high school thing. I'm just going to help you. I said, oh my goodness, all right, we'll give that a shot. And if you ask me, it took me a couple years to kind of train her, and if you ask her, it took her quite a few years to train me. So it's been a fun experience, with something that we can share. And fortunately, our kids have been grown up in basketball. They know that after every game we go home and watch the tape and have a good time with it, and we've had the chance to experience it with them. Brittany, our oldest, ended up playing basketball here at Central Missouri and had a great fun 2 years here after playing a couple years in Johnson County. DJ was here for 5 years. He redshirted his first year and got a chance to play here for 4 years, and it's been a great experience for him. He's now coaching women's basketball at UMSL. And is having a great experience there. And then my youngest is a senior here at Central Missouri in the fashion merchandising program. So it's been a fun experience, and it's kind of funny because at the time we were at Missouri Western, my mom and dad had retired to St. Joe. They had sold and bought their house in Warrensburg before that we did. So they got here and are still here. So it's been a great run here, and it's been a lot of fun, and just fortunate to be able to have people to share it with, and that's been one of the great experiences with it.
All right. Well, that's all the time that we've got for this week. Coach, thanks for taking the time to sit down
Thank
with
you.
me. Really appreciate it. For Sports Page, I'm Daniel Barnett.
Thanks for tuning in this week. Hope you've enjoyed it. Remember, you can watch us every Thursday night at 9:30 on KMOS-TV, Missouri PBS, and you can follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. I'm Kira Mackey.
And I'm Jason Katz. For all of us here, thank you for inviting us into your homes. You've been watching Sports Page on KMOS-TV, Missouri PBS, and the UCM Media Network. We'll see you next week. Support for Sports Page is provided by the University Store at the Crossing. The University Store at the Crossing is the official headquarters for Mules and Jennies emblem clothing, gifts, and UCM memorabilia. Books, office supplies, art supplies, and more are available at the University Store located on the lower level of the Elliott Union on the UCM campus in Warrensburg. And promotional support for Sports Page is provided by 1450 KOKO and 98.5 The Bar. 1450 KOKO and 98.5 The Bar, the radio home of the University of Central Missouri Athletics.